Hi, Roshan.
Iros Bey,
The next questions is, if we start the melody in G minor, which modes can we touch later?
I understand. For this, we need to create a modal map. So, what do we do? First, we place the G minor mode right at the center. Let's say this is our home. We'll start here and eventually return here. But to make the music more colorful, we'll need other modes as well. Let them be our neighbors. For example, I'll add the A Locrian mode.
I understand what you said, but since the Locrian mode can only be built from 12 different tones, why did you specifically add a Locrian?
That's right. Considering the number of modes and the fact that each of them can be built from all 12 tones, things get even more complicated. So, what should we do? Let's imagine a megapolis where all the modes exist. And we've built a house on one of its streets. The first thing we'll do, of course, is gather our closest relatives around us. In other words, we surround ourselves with neighbors whose pitch sequences are exactly the same as G minor. For example, the A Locrian mode has the same pitch sequence as G minor. The only difference is that it starts on the note A. According to this logic, which other modes would there be?
B flat major natural,
Yes,
C Dorian,
yes,
D Phrygian, E flat Lydian.
yes, and F Mixolydian. So, these neighbors are the modes that are closest to our home mode. Later, we'll add other neighbors as well.
Uh-huh. So, by what principle do you add the other neighboring ones?
The next step is to find a mode whose 6 notes are exactly the same as G minor, with of course, one note being different. For example, D dominant Phrygian. Here, all the notes are the same as G minor, except for F sharp. Another example could be the G melodic major mode. The difference between the two modes is that in G melodic major, there is a B natural instead of B flat. Modes with 2 note differences are also used frequently. For example, D melodic major. Look here, 2 tones, E natural and F sharp, are what distinguish this mode from G minor.
So, it means we can add any mode to this map. Let's say we want to add C major. The 5 notes of C major, C, D, F, G, A, are present in G minor.
That's correct. It exists, but we need to pay attention to one nuance. It is not just about similar notes between modes. The 4 consecutive notes that are similar must appear in the same order in both modes.
Do you mean tetrachord
No,
here?
it doesn't have to match on the lower tetrachord or upper tetrachord of G minor. We can select any 4 consecutive notes from G minor. And if those 4 consecutive notes also exist in a neighboring mode, we can use them comfortably. Now, let's look at the C major, as you mentioned. The C and D notes are also in G minor, but the following E note isn't. Here the sequence is broken. Again, the F and G notes are in G minor, but the sequence is again interrupted because the B note isn't in G minor. So, because there are not 4 consecutive similar notes between two modes, C major would be one of the most distant neighbors of G minor. I'm not saying it can't be used, but in Romantic era music, this is a situation you'd rarely see. Honestly, I haven't come across it.
I understood it like this. If we use C mixolydian instead of C major, it can be added to this map as a neighbor of G minor.
That's absolutely correct. In C mixolydian, the 6 consecutively arranged notes are exactly the same as in G minor.
Then we can conclude that Romantic era composers considered certain criteria when choosing neighboring modes.
Yes, even when we analyze Romantic era pieces together, we observed that composers consistently use the same neighboring modes. That's why when listening to that music, you can easily recognize it as belonging to Romantic era. The frequently used neighbors are limited in number, and we've shown this throughout the course lectures. Naturally, as the number of similar notes between G minor and a neighboring mode decreases, the music starts to move further from the tonal center. I mean, modes that share 4, 3, or fewer notes with G minor. We see this phenomenon more often in the post-Romantic and the later periods, where other principles come into play. And we'll discuss this in the future.
From what you said, Roshan, I understand that questions about composing a melody without knowledge of harmony and modes will always remain unclear. So, it's not right to look at the matter from just one side. The question is, you explained the importance of the modes to us, and at the same time explained the principle on which their map is based. So, Roshan, a new question arose for all of us. How should we use this map? Is there a rule here too? Because, Roshan, at the end of the day, the big question for all of us is how to continue or develop the melody we wrote.
Thank you. In fact, the composer's mindset course is built precisely around this question. Throughout the course, we've explained in detail which notes to touch when writing a melody, which harmonies to use, and the principles of walking between modes. We've even discussed musical forms. I'm grateful that you collected and addressed these questions from the students, and I also want to thank you especially for your great support in this project.
I'm also very happy that, just like in the past, by joining this project again, I have taken part in an adventure with you. Thank you for the conversation. Hoping to see you next time. Goodbye for now.
Me too. See you in the next video.